Now let's take a conversation outside Nigeria. A Spanish court sitting in Barcelona has ordered the body of former Angolan leader Jose Eduardo dos Santos to be released to his widow and granted authorization for the repatriation and international transfer of his remains to Angola for burial. Dos Santos, who ruled oil-rich Angola with an iron fist from 1979 to 2017, died in Barcelona on July 8 at the age of 79 after suffering a cardiac arrest. Since then, the question of when and where he'll be buried has pitted the Angolan government and his widow, Ana Paula, against some of his children.
Just last month, several of his children signed a letter in which they agreed to hold a state funeral for their father in Angola, but only after an election later this month. But his 44-year-old daughter, Jose dos Santos, who filed a legal complaint in Barcelona alleging attempted murder against her father's widow and his personal doctor, has insisted that he wanted to be buried in Spain, where he lived since 2019. In its ruling, the court said its decision was based on the definitive autopsy reports, which it received on August 16, saying the analysis carried were conclusive and show he died a death from natural causes.
It's quite interesting to see, what's going on. And unfortunately, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, who should be referred to as an architect of peace because of the role he played in bringing about Angola's democracy, doesn't really, there's some complications and controversy surrounding the legacy that he's left behind, in terms of his family, putting his family members in office, his wife, his children, Isabella becoming one of the wealthiest people in the world. And, these are just very, very, very sad legacies to leave behind. It's a reminder. I mean, we did talk about, there was someone we're speaking about in that regard, and, you did emphasize that as much as we are in office, whatever you're doing as a politician, as an individual, you must remember that there will be a time when you'll no longer be here. And what is a legacy that will be left behind when you're gone?
A lot of people really, aren't so bothered about the legacy as long as they're rich enough to, continue, enjoying life, as it comes. The legacy will be all right. But he has a pretty interesting story from 1979
exactly
to 2017,
and then he steps down after 38 years, and then decides that But I mean, he did admit after he stepped down after 38 years in office, he did admit that he made a lot of mistakes and decided to go somewhere quiet in exile, just to sort of reflect on his life after choosing his Minister of Defense to take over from him. It's interesting as
38 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Angola is gearing up to its elections in a few days. That's on the 24th of August. So we wish the people of Angola well, and the family especially. I'm hoping that this will be a time of reflection for them. And,
absolutely. I don't think it will be because first of all, one of the things that you mentioned, a couple of them have corruption allegations.
Yes.
What his daughter also had to send herself in exile. Run out away from Angola. Because of the same corruption allegations, millions and millions of dollars,
his son,
they were accused of
as well. It's just
same thing with the son.
Yes.
And it's the same daughter now that is accusing the wife of his murder, the wife and his personal doctor of his murder. But of course, from what the judge has said, in Spain now, not even in Angola, he died of natural causes, and he also didn't request it. There's no part of his will or his paperwork that says that he requested to be buried in Spain, because that's what they wanted. They wanted to bury him in Spain, in a private cemetery or whatnot. But of course, the family, the wife, back at home is saying no, that she wants him to be brought back to Angola, where he will be buried. Unfortunately, there is no paperwork that shows that he requested to be buried in Spain, and so that's why this ruling has been given. It's also not a good thing to see family members fight, after the father passes on. You would always expect that there would be a better relationship amongst themselves, but once in a while these things happen.
And that's also another point, another opportunity to raise the importance of having a will, the last will and testament. I know it's a conversation that here in Africa we're not very excited about because people were very religious and spiritual. So once they say, do you have a will? Do you want me to die? Are you planning to kill me? But what we find is that in families that do not have structure and unity, when a person passes, it then causes chaos. A family that might have looked okay, all their flaws are brought to the fore after the passing of the head of the family. And what you then see is everybody's fighting on social media and dragging themselves and saying, this shouldn't be happening. But this is the reality. Plan for your life, plan for your family. And we wish the people of Angola well. And we hope that even as they gear towards the elections on the 24th of 24th of August that things turn out well for them and better for them.